Today we are going to talk about sexual harassment in the workplace. Before we talk about sexual harassment, let's take a look at our teaching point for today. By the end of this presentation, you will understand what sexual harassment is. You'll get a little history on sexual harassment, how to recognize sexual harassment, and lastly, what can you do to stop sexual harassment? First, what is sexual harassment? Sexual harassment is unwelcome verbal, visual, or physical conduct of a sexual nature that is severe or pervasive and affects working conditions or creates a hostile working environment. You need to ask yourself these three questions. Is it sexual harassment? How do you know? Do you accept it? And what should you do? Conduct is not sexual harassment if it is welcomed. For this reason, it is important to communicate either verbally or in writing to the harasser that the conduct makes you uncomfortable and you want it to stop. As you see in this picture, this employee is letting the harasser know that it is not okay to be acting in a way that makes me feel uncomfortable. Now, let's take a look at a little history on sexual harassment. First, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 helped establish the groundwork for sexual harassment on the job. The Civil Rights Acts of 1964 prohibit employment discrimination based on race, sex, color, national origin, or religion. Where did the phrase come from? The term sexual harassment was coined and popularized by Lynn Farley in 1975, based on a pattern she recognized during a 1974 Cornell University class she taught on women and work. Many court cases to help evolve and define the definition of sexual harassment as we see it today. Many people, including women, have fought against behavior that affected their performance on the job. Now, let's take a look at specific types of sexual harassment. There are three types of sexual harassment. The first one is verbal. Comments about slurs or jokes about an individual's body, sexual flirtations, unwelcome requests for dates or sexual activities. Next is written. Sending sexually explicit emails, notes, letters, or text messages of a sexual nature. And last is physical. Assault, impeding or blocking or cornering someone's movement, inappropriate touching of a person or person's clothing, kissing, hugging, patting, stroking, or brushing up against someone. Some types of sexual harassment are not as obvious. The first is nonverbal. Looking up and down a person's body. They call that elevator eyes. You can see that on the left-hand picture. Derogatory gestures or facial expressions of sexual nature. Following a person. The other is visual. Posters, cartoons, pictures, drawings, emails, or other text of a sexual nature. Let's take a pause and review a few things that we have learned. It started out of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Many court cases helped sexual harassment evolve into what it is today. What is the definition of sexual harassment? Any unwelcome verbal, visual, or physical conduct of sexual nature that is severe or pervasive and affects the working conditions or creates a hostile environment. Name 3 types of sexual harassment: verbal, written, and physical harassment. Some questions you should ask yourself: do you feel harassed? Has it happened a lot? Have I witnessed other victims? Anyone else witness it happening? Always be vigilant to your surroundings. Talk to a close coworker that you can trust. And finally, report any incidents. Well, after you know the sexual harassment is happening, you should document the behavior. You should use the 5 W's: the who, what, where, when, and why. Document the date, time, and the place of the incident. What happened that made you feel uncomfortable? Were there any witnesses around? Do you have any documentation such as email, text, or pictures? Why do you think it is happening? Did they ask you out and you rejected them? There are some things that you should consider about reporting the behavior. Does your workplace have forms for reporting the incident? Did you get training when you were hired? Do you have a handbook? What does the handbook say? Can I go and talk to a supervisor, manager, human resources director, the owner? Who can you trust? What are you feeling when you see the harasser? Scared, intimidated, stressed, fearful? Can't be productive on the job? After reporting the incident, someone should investigate your complaint. Other people may be interviewed. Watch for retaliation. Harassment continue? Or did it escalate? Did the behavior stop? Did you get passed over for a promotion? The behavior should stop. If it doesn't, you need to go find another staff member for help. Now we are going to check for understanding using true and false. Sexual harassment is unwelcomed. True. If it makes you feel uncomfortable, you must tell that individual to stop. Sexual harassment is often misinterpreted. False. People know when they're being harassed. Women are the only victims. False. It can happen to either gender. Sexual harassment happens anywhere. True. It can happen by text, email, face-to-face, at work, or out of work. Now we are going to wrap up sexual harassment. Here are a few examples. Sexual harassment is any unwelcome touch. That can be your back, your leg, your buttocks, someone brushing up against you. Sexual harassment can be sexual emails, texts, or pictures. Sexual harassment can be playing sexually suggestive music. Sexual harassment can also be cornering or blocking someone. All of these are examples of sexual harassment, and you do not need to take it. Ask them to stop. If it continues, you need to report it. Thank you.